generation later, the Browns are back. Just how far can this team take this run? And then the road to the Super Bowl. We'll go through the frozen tundra. Is this the team to beat? And did the QB lock up the MVP? We'll answer all those questions as we get up with you, starting right now on a Monday from the Seaport. Delighted to be back and to have you with us. Rex Ryan is here. We're ready to go, big fella, and we're not alone. Dan Orlovsky is here. Ryan Clark is here. The NFL season is officially over, and the fun is just beginning. And it ended, I was about to say with a bang. Candidly, I'm not sure how to describe how it ended. Let's take a look at it. Washington football team clinches the NFC East with a win, taking on the Eagles. Second quarter, Eagles are down 10-0. But Dan, Jalen Hurts is getting things done with his legs.
It's an outstanding job of realizing, okay, the RPO is covered. It's in man. No one's got me. Let me use my speed to get to that front pylon touchdown Philly.
Under 5 minutes to go, it's still 10-7, third down, and it's Hurts. Again, look at this one. Thrilling one for Arcega-Whiteside.
You love to see him climb that pocket and then find that receiver, give him a big physical ball to go catch.
And then the very next play, once again using his legs, he's the first Eagles quarterback with 2 rushing touchdowns in a game since Michael Vick. They're up 14-10. Oh, he's playing well. You got to keep him in the game. Meanwhile, Alex Smith, he's looking up top.
It's a great job of Alex Smith realizing that trailing backside linebacker. He's got his back turned to me. Give Logan Thomas a high ball for the touchdown.
Now we're 5 minutes left in the third. It's 1st and 10. It's Alex Smith, and this ball is going to get ripped away from J.D. McKissick, and the Eagles are in business.
It's a great play by Michael Epps to get that pick, and then you see Jalen Hurts hanging, trying to find somebody. That ball is going to get thrown away, and all of a sudden it's decision-making time for the Philadelphia Eagles.
The decision they make is to go for it on 4th down. Rex, do you like that decision?
No, of course not. I hate that decision. Another one, chalk another one up for analytics.
Field goal would have tied it, but then is when it really gets interesting. Fourth quarter in a 3-point game, Jalen Hurts is on the bench, and Nate Sudfeld is in the game and throwing arm punts. This one is picked off by Jeremy Reeves. Washington takes over. Smith would get intercepted, and then we have more of this nonsense from the Eagles on a 2nd down. Now they can't even handle the snap. The Washington football team controls the football, the fumble. The Washington football team wins the division. The Philadelphia Eagles lose the respect of everyone. Doug Peterson, what?
That was my decision solely. Nate has obviously been here for 4 years, and I felt that he deserved an opportunity to get some snaps. And listen, if there's anything out there that thinks that I was not trying to win the game, I mean, you know, Ertz is out there, Brandon Graham's out there, Darius Slay's out there. You know, all our top guys are still on the field at the end.
Well, say for one. Anyway, Chris Mortensen tweeted this. This is the most negative barrage of comments I have received about a game's lack of integrity, and that's not even counting Giants-related bias. Consensus from those in the NFL and those who've been associated with it, disgrace. That's not the fault of the Washington football team. All right, let's talk about it, because frankly, it is about as interesting a way for an NFL season to end as I can remember in a very long time. What word would you use to sum up that decision?
Strange. When I see it right there, you know, at first I'm like, did something happen to Jalen Hurts? And then when, you know, I still never knew. But you don't, look, Peterson's a good football coach, but that's a horrible moment for him. And quite honestly, I questioned going into the game the commitment of the Philadelphia Eagles, of being a true pro, lining up and play. And when I saw that injury report and the guys who weren't playing, I was shocked on how many guys, you know, yeah, he mentioned some guys that were playing, but there was a whole list of guys that weren't. And then making this move, absolutely awful.
Ryan Clark, what do you think?
You know what I thought in 256 games, right, that the NFL fought through a pandemic to bring you, even one of those games, starting a practice squad receiver at quarterback, this was the most disgraceful. This was the one they should have allowed to be canceled, to be postponed. This is the one that protocol should have taken over because of the way it finished. You know, Doug Peterson is talking about, you know what, we tried to win. They still had Brandon Graham. We had Darius Slay on the field. Well, I saw Deshaun Watson play to the very end, and he's one of the best players, one of the best quarterbacks in this league because his coach and their quarterback was trying to win the football game. And when Chris Mortensen sends out a tweet, and Mort says in that tweet that it was disgraceful, but not because of the Washington football team. When in this decade, when in this year, when forever do we hear disgraceful and it involves two teams and we have to make a distinction that it's not because of the Washington football team? That's what this decision was for Doug Peterson. That's what this decision was for the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's a terrible way to end the season that for 17 weeks you fought so hard to give your fans the games that were scheduled.
That's a point really well taken. Deshaun Watson fought to the end yesterday in a meaningless game. Matt Stafford, playing with a variety of injuries, played the entire day yesterday. And they wanted to get Nate Sudfeld's snap stand like this was week 4 of the preseason. I mean, what is that?
Last night was a mockery. It was an absolute mockery. We hear the term tanking in sports and say, listen, front offices, they will tank. Yes, because it's better for their organization long term. Coaches and players just don't. You just don't see it because they're not wired that way. Last night was the first time that I felt I saw it. A coach obviously tanking. You can't get up there at the end of the game and say, well, it was obvious or I was trying to coach to win, and then in the very next sentence say, I felt like Nate Sudfeld deserved reps. Those two things cannot be synonymous with each other. Those two things cannot both happen at the same time. This is a football team that had 9 wins last year in the playoffs, but it's 9 wins. They got 4 this year. It's the same football team that their coach chose to take a tie at the beginning of the year or accept the tie rather than try to go get that win, right? And we can make fun of the NFC East all we want, but at least they tried. Those 4 teams tried to win games this year. They weren't good, but they tried every single game until the last one to win. The NFL is about respect. It's about respect in every single aspect on the field. Philadelphia City, as a city, is prideful. They don't want things the easy way. They want it the hard road. They're always the group that believes no matter what people say, they got a shot. They don't want things given to them. Last night, it felt different. It felt like that was wrong in so many different ways.
Well, the busiest person at ESPN today is going to be the one that you see in the lower corner of your screen there. Adam Schefter has gotten up with us as well. Good morning, Shefty. And you began the day from a Philadelphia perspective with the reporting about the relationship between Carson Wentz, who was a healthy scratch, and Doug Peterson. Take us there for those who didn't get to see that.
Well, Chris Mortensen said that the relationship between those men was fractured beyond repair. And I think what you're seeing is people jockeying for offseason position. And Carson Wentz clearly not happy with the events that have unfolded there in Philadelphia, in particular this season. He's been benched. He's seen Jalen Hurts take over his starting job. And now we head to an offseason in which there's a real chance that Carson Wentz is going to want out and want to move on from Philadelphia and try to go elsewhere. Now, we'll see what happens with that. Clearly, at the heart of this is his relationship with Doug Peterson and what exists right there. So we'll see how that shakes out going forward, Green. You got my dogs barking in the background. Very sorry about that. I can go shut my door.
We like it.
They're upset with it, too.
It adds. They're disgusted by the decision to put Nate Sudfeld in the fourth quarter of that game. Go ahead, RC, because I could see you were done.
That's the sound from Philadelphia. The people in Philadelphia still screaming
That's
about
exactly right. Orange the Dog Pound. They're celebrating in Cleveland. We're going to get to them shortly. But RC, go ahead.
No, I just think when Adam is telling you about the relationship between Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson, you know how to save it? At least now you can go have the conversation and say, well, hell, Carson, you got a chance to compete because I put Nate Sudfeld in the game instead of Jalen. So obviously he's not our guy going forward. When you look at the decisions that have been made in Philadelphia, some of them have been questionable. I think people eventually thought you had to move on from Carson Wentz. But now we're at a point to where every week we hear something from the backup quarterback. Every week we're trying to make a decision on who's the starter. This organization is a mess. And in some of those reports, they're saying Doug Peterson is probably back. They need to really reevaluate where they want to be in the future and if this coach is the guy to lead them. Because right now, with all you hear from there, with all you see from there, this is an organization that's going in the wrong direction.
Go ahead, Rex.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this, first off, Carson Wentz, this is absolutely ridiculous how these statements keep coming up and all that. Just man up, dude. Just man up, because the organization, Greeny, it's going to be hard to move on from this guy. It's going to be hard to trade him, just based on how the contract is. But are you kidding me? Grow up, compete. What is wrong with competition? That makes everybody better. You just want everything handed to you? Like, to me, it's an absolute joke. And, is he trying to posture to get Doug Peterson run out of town? It was interesting to me, when Dan talked about how, this guy's tanking, the coaches. Why? Does he want to get run out of town? I don't know.
Listen, one way or another, the Philadelphia Eagles had themselves an absolutely terrible season. It couldn't have possibly ended worse. Meanwhile, we jump to the AFC storylines because there were a lot of them. Let me run you through what happened yesterday. The Ravens literally ran their way to the playoffs. A franchise record 404 rushing yards, blowing out the Bengals. They're in the playoffs. The Bills dropped 56 on the Dolphins, handing Miami a devastating 30-point loss. The Dolphins are out. The Dolphins eliminated because the Colts beat the Jaguars. Jonathan Taylor ran for a franchise record 253 in the win, and then the Titans won a wild one against the Texans to clinch the division for the first time in 12 years. Derrick Henry went over 2,000 yards rushing for the season. And then there was this. The Cleveland Browns, 2002, the last time this franchise was in the playoffs. But they beat the Steelers yesterday, and they get in. And Dan, they started out running the football with Nick Chubb.
Yeah, that power run game with Nick Chubb. You see that offensive